Tom.
Let's start, shall we, with a blog post about the people whose job it is to filter the images that we see, sometimes very shocking, coming into us from war zones.
That's right. Now, this is on the Making of blog from the AFP news agency. Now, their Middle East and North Africa service is based in Nicosia, the capital of Cyprus. And basically, like in many news organizations, including our own, you have the people whose job it is to filter images to see if they are appropriate for the public. So you have, essentially, their job is to filter the images for public consumption. They, as a result, are the filters themselves, Tom, and they have to look at everything without any filters. So it can be extremely traumatic, in fact. What you see here is an image in a morgue in Gaza of a child, Palestinian child. Now, that was allowed to go through the filter because it is not considered to be too graphic. You can see here images in the headquarters of the people whose job it is to look at extremely graphic pictures all day long. And of course, a choice has to be made because in terms of getting, I suppose, as one photo editor, Marina Passos, said, they also have to show people the world as it is, and a graphic image can also have a very strong aesthetic power. This image that you're seeing here, Tom, is a little girl who is injured and she's being cared for in a makeshift hospital in Douma, Syria. So it's interesting to read the process, also what a grisly task it is, but also how much that has changed in the last 10 years. Some people have been doing this job for the AFP for 10 years and they've seen the extent to which more and more graphic images are coming in. Now that's because, even while there were, for example, images of decapitations coming out of Iraq as long as 10 years ago, you might have only got 1 or 2 images of a very graphic nature a month coming out of Syria or Iraq or Libya or various other hotspots. But now you have them every single day, as these photo editors and video editors tell at the AFP Making of blog. Now, that's an indication, of course, of a rising violence across the region, but also it's an illustration of the fact that more of that violence has been captured on camera due to advances in technology. So the result is people working in media organizations across the world whose job it is to filter these images are being faced with more and more of that, of those very shocking images coming out of war zones, Tom. So an interesting read on the Making of blog of the AFP website.
An extremely challenging, but as you say, a very important job
Absolutely.
To deliver those pictures. Let's move on to a lighter story now. A little girl who's been making the headlines in Australia because of her first name. She's got the rather unfortunate now first name of Isis.
That's right, and of course this, perhaps not of course, it's not necessarily everybody who would be aware, but it was an Egyptian goddess was originally called Isis, and you do have little girls and women indeed around the world who, not many, but who have this name. And unfortunately for one 8-year-old in Sydney, this has become an issue that is, in this rather, I think, perhaps melodramatic headline, tearing her family apart. So her name is Isis Leskian. Apparently, for example, she plays team sports, and if her mother cheers her on, "Come on, Isis," people in the crowd have been looking at the mother suspiciously, wondering is she supporting the Islamic State organization, which I'm sure is pretty unlikely for a Sydney suburban mom. And indeed, a name that was seen as just, quite a pretty name is now the source of all sorts of upset. And indeed, some friends of the family, although one would have to presume they're probably not very good friends, are now avoiding the Leskian family because they don't want to be associated with them. A petition has been set up, Tom, 33,000 signatures so far. Please inform the media. Thousands of women and girls named ISIS are named ISIS. Stop calling the terrorists by our name. Now, for all sorts of other reasons, people have been voting not to call ISIS by that name. Mostly because they want to be called ISIS themselves, so better not to give them the oxygen of their own publicity. But here's another reason as well, Tom. Little girls called ISIS.
Indeed. Well, here at France 24, we call it the Islamic State Organization, not ISIS. Thank you very much indeed for that, James Creed, and that was MediaWatch. It's time now for Focus here on France 24. Today we're turning our eye to the Iraqi capital, where a surprising concept